Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Mama Jack podcast. Today we have Sharla. When I first talked to Sharla, she was having issues with sleep training her baby. So a couple weeks went by because of a busy schedule, and it's hard to meet up with moms. I finally got to interview her, and she had already gotten through it with the help of a sleep training coach. Now, we all go through this as parents, right? The dreaded I've been up for 9 months a billion times every night. You're a zombie. Your mental health starts to go. Sleep training is such an important key to your mental health and well being. There are so many different methods out there. We talk about a couple that we did. I don't think I talked about one of them that I did, which was when Kennedy was really small, he would cry as soon as he hit the bed. So I literally would hold him to my chest until he hit the bed with my chest still on him. And then I would slowly back away with my hand on his chest and slowly go up. And then you hover your hand over their chest and then you slowly back away. And that worked about 70% of the time, which is actually pretty good odds. But in this interview, we talk about the different ways that we sleep trained our kids. And there are so many good resources out there if you're going through this right now, because let me tell you, I feel you. It is a crazy thing to go through, and it can be so hard and so just defeating. But know that we all go through this. And yes, there are some babies that sleep through the night automatically, and yay, claps for them. But let's be honest, most of the time that does not happen. So we need help, and we have the tools right at our Google access, and you get to pick whatever feels right for your family, which is amazing, right? So without further delay, here's Sharla and I's interview.
Hello, Sharla. How are you?
Hi, Jackie. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. So, are you having trouble sleep training your kid? What is going on here? Let's hear it.
So, no, not now.
I know it's been like a solid month, huh, since we
Yes.
booked this.
So it's been life changing, honestly, like literally life changing. So
I
he is
know.
sleep trained. It took about 2 weeks for everything to get settled, but it even got better after that initial 2 week period. Like, I don't know if you want me to go into all the details now, but it's just been amazing.
Well, tell us what life was like 9 months ago. Tell us how all of that started.
Yeah. So my little guy he's going to be 11 months on Tuesday, May 23rd. So he was born, he was a small baby. And so I guess there's different opinions and things about that as well. Cause people are like, oh, small babies, yeah, they wake up more often in the night and things like that. So he was born at 6'2", and I was wanting to breastfeed. So I breastfed, and early, like, it's my first child too, right? So I think that
Hmm.
has a lot to say. I was thinking about it. Would I do things differently with a second child? Yes, definitely. Live and learn. But he would wake up like a lot in the night. And I still remember like the first nights in the hospital as well. Like he would wake every hour. And because at first when they're breastfeeding, they can't get very much, right? It's just tiny
Yeah.
amounts. And he
Hmm.
was already small. So I wanted to offer him and try to get him to latch and everything as often as possible. So every time he made a little peep, I would pick him up and I would try to breastfeed him.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I think that that's what they recommended. I don't know. But anyway, like that continued on though. Like right up 9 months old, he was still waking like almost every 2 hours all night long, and I was
Oh,
breastfeeding him back to
geez.
sleep.
Oh.
Yes. There were twice, I guess, in his 9 month lifespan that he slept like a solid 6 or 7 hours through the night. And they were on times where I was like traveling or outside or something all day long. So lots of fresh air, lots of stimulation. And
Hmm.
so this was only like 2 times in 9 months that he slept a stretch of 6 or 7 hours.
Oh,
So
girl.
yes, every time I was feeding him to sleep, which is just so easy, right, in the moment. So that's what I did. But then every time he woke in the night, I was feeding him back to sleep again. And it was all me. He would never take a bottle. Again, that's something else I would have done differently.
Well, like you said, you live and you learn. My
Yes.
first was way different than my second too.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have, again, a new mom wanting to do everything, quote unquote, right or by the book or whatever. You just want to do what's best for your child. And being the first child, I had certain, I guess, ideas or thoughts that I wanted to implement with him. So I listened to all the professionals. They said, oh, well, don't give a bottle before he's 3 months old. Otherwise, there'll be nipple confusion and he won't want to latch on the breast and yada, yada, yada. It's like, but that meant that he didn't want to take a bottle ever.
Yeah.
So I mean, every baby's different and who knows how it would have turned out had I given him a bottle when he was younger. But if I would have, well then, I could have, my partner, he would have happily gotten up in the middle of the night with him, right, and given him a bottle, but he wouldn't take a bottle, so it was all on me.
Yeah.
So I would have definitely done that again, and I also feel like I kind of robbed him of that bonding time as well, because he could never feed him. It was always me. So he's like super attached to his mom and less to his dad. But I mean, he's getting older, so I know that will change now too. But like things could have been very different for those 9 months. But anyway, now we're on the other side of it. He's sleeping 12 hours at night.
Nice. Oh my
Yes.
God, that first night, did you wake up in a panic? I feel like every mom, when their baby first sleeps through the night, they're like, oh my God, are they alive? And then your shirt is soaked because you haven't like pumped or like breastfed, and you're just like, oh my God, what the hell?
Yeah, I definitely did not sleep through the night for the first few weeks. I was waking up looking at the camera and oh my gosh. But I'm sleeping all night long now.
Nice.
It's amazing, amazing. And I've weaned him completely as well, when he was 10 months old. And the reason why, I think I probably would have continued with the breastfeeding, a little bit, but I was hosting a retreat. So, okay, I wanted my mom to watch him, so I had to completely wean him and everything. But I mean, the timing worked out perfectly because I mean, like it went so smoothly with him. He was, he slept all night long and he was fully on solids and milk, and yeah, it was so good. So it's completely life changing. Now it's like complete 180.
Right. So, what sleep training method did you use?
So I know I was following this sleep consultant for a bit, and like for several months before we actually bit the bullet and jumped in. And I was thinking, oh, well, I think, the only thing that held us back was the cost, right? So it was $500. And I think sleep training your baby or getting your baby to sleep is one of those things like, oh, well, I can do this on my own, right? I can figure this out on my own. Because I read a lot online, a lot, and I think that was helpful and not helpful because I had learned a lot already, but different sleep consultants were recommending different things. So when you're trying to follow a plan, like you can't be bouncing around from one person to the other. So anyway, we bit the bullet, we jumped in, and our original plan was I did not want to let him cry himself to sleep on his own. I was like, I don't want him to feel like he's abandoned. So because she offered us 3 different strategies. She said you can do the kind of like the cry it out where you don't go in. I can't remember what she called that. And then there was timed checks
It's
where
the Ferber method, right? Isn't that
yeah, I think
that's
so.
cry it out, I believe.
Yeah. And then the second one was time checks. So they cry, you go in, you check on them, make sure everything's okay. They know you're there. They feel maybe safety or comfort. And then you leave again, and then you increase the time interval each time.
Yeah.
And then it was the chair method. And so the chair method takes the longest. The cry it out, usually you get more results faster. But I said, no, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go the in-between one. But what happened was the sleep consultant was away on vacation for 2 weeks. So I was kind of like 2 weeks waiting before we actually could start the program, like the plan with her. And he was sick. And so when he gets sick, he just gets overtired. He can't sleep well. And so what happened was I couldn't get him to sleep. Like the usual way, this was before starting the sleep plan. Like I think the day before, the night before. And he just would not go to sleep. Like I would try to feed him to sleep, which I always did, but he just would not go to sleep. So this had happened a few times now and then. And when he got that way, we just had to let him cry anyway and cry it out. And so that first night, we left him in his room to cry it out. And then we were starting the plan the next day. I was like, well, I kind of don't want to go back and forth and confuse him. So we ended up doing the cry it out method. Yeah. So I hope that, he's not scarred or traumatized for the rest of his life because that.
I mean, I don't think so. Our parents did that to us. You know what I mean? Like, it was nothing. Like, my dad's like, why do you keep going in your kid's room? Because we did a method that was probably like the chair method. I don't know what that method was for her, but basically, well, we did two methods. So we did the one where you sit by the crib and you reassure them. And then every couple days you get farther from the crib and closer to the door. And that after like a week, he was fine. And then he started again. So basically he was fine. And then the pandemic happened and he like kind of regressed. I don't know why, if it was his age or what. So then we did the method where you come in, I think it's like 3 minutes and then 5 minutes and then 10 minutes and then 20. He never hit the 5-minute mark. He always fell asleep. So we did that with him. But turn around, he's 3.5 years old. And we're still, most of the nights, we're in there for him to go to bed. Like, it's not like he's crying or anything, but he just wants us in there. And I'm kind of selfishly holding on to that because he's my big boy now. And I'm like, I don't want to, and I don't know if that's going to be horrible for him. I'd like to train him, so we can read him a story, give him a kiss goodnight and go. But it's kind of like a precious time for me. So I'm like back and forth. I'm like, I love watching him fall asleep, and it doesn't take him long. Like, he'll tell us, like, I'm ready to go to bed, and we'll go brush his teeth. He'll go to the bathroom. We'll read him a book. And then maybe he'll ask like 3 or 4 questions as he's laying in bed, and he'll just doze off. And it's like,
nice.
Personally, I don't want to lose that. My daughter, on the other hand, she did not sleep well until she was like almost a year old. She was up a lot at night too. Like, I wouldn't say every 2 hours. We ended up finding out that she needed more nutrients. Like, my milk, I was a pumper, and I guess she needed more than what my milk was giving her. So we started to have to do formula in the milk. And when we started that, she would sleep longer. And she's like, you can't sit in there with her because she'll cry for like maybe like, I'd say 1 to 5 minutes. And 5 minutes is like a stretch. And then she'll just pass out. We've tried sitting in there with her like we did with Kennedy, my first. And she'll be up for an hour if we're in there. Like, she wants to be out of the crib then. So for her, it is best just to let her like complain a little bit, and then she just knocks out every time. Naps and everything. She doesn't care. She's just like, oh, okay, whatever, good night. And so it was way different with the two of them. And I'm waiting to see when we transition her into a toddler bed if that's going to change, because that's when it changed for my first. We went from his crib to we just didn't even do the toddler bed with him. We went straight for our crib turned into a full, and we just got him the full mattress and the side things. You know what I mean? The safety whatevers. And that freaked him out, I think, to have so much space. But now it's like, dang, if he like gets up in the middle of the night and wants to come in bed with us, sleeping with a toddler is like torturous. They end up on your face, on your head, side. I'm like, oh my God, dude, calm down. But yeah, so we did a little bit of both too. And I don't think anything's wrong, right? I mean, if
Yeah.
your baby's in distress, that's one thing. If they're crying for 3 hours, then yeah, that's probably going to cause something. But if it's
Mhm.
like a couple minutes, like you know your baby's like cries, right? And
Yeah.
they all sound so different. Like there's a distress cry, there's a mad cry, there's an I just want this cry. Like there's so many different cries that us mothers recognize and the fathers too. And yeah, and, with the whole husband thing, like for me, since I pumped, he did a lot of the feedings too.
Mm.
With my son, he wasn't really around because he had a night job for the first like 4 or 5 months. Then he was home for like a month, and then he did it again for like 3 months.
Okay.
So he, in return, like my son is very close to me and wants me to do everything a lot. My daughter, she does not care. She's like, oh, whatever, I don't care. As long as I'm getting fed, I don't give a crap who gives it to me. Like, just feed me, And she's a year and a half now, so she actually still has to be on formula because she had some weight issues. She's a tiny little thing because of a
Okay.
genetic condition, and that played a role in her not being able to sleep through the night as well.
Mm.
But yeah, there are so many different sleep training methods, and I feel like staying off of mommy blogs when you're sleep training is the best because they can be so judgmental, right? And it's like whatever works for your family, like
Yeah.
everybody's different. And I know you're a mom. When that baby was crying, you were probably feeling it. You probably wanted to cry too. Like
Yeah.
I've been there, where you're like, oh my God, do I go get them? No, I can't. I can't. No, stop, stop. You're literally forcing yourself to sit. You might have even been pacing. Like it's stressful. It's stressful, but I'm so happy you're on the other side. My God,
Yes,
yay!
yes. Oh my, what a relief. And now there's times like, so we're like a month or more in. I can't even remember exactly, but there's times now that I go and I lay him down in his crib. We do the routine and whatnot, lay him in his crib. Then I leave the room. He doesn't even cry, not even a peep. And then he goes to
Hmm.
sleep. And he
Yeah.
still does cry sometimes, but I think it just depends on, if he's undertired or overtired or whatnot. But yeah, that's amazing. I didn't think we'd ever get there. She said, after a few weeks you might get there, and I didn't believe her.
Yeah, of course.
but it's true, yeah, without a peep, and it's just unbelievable. And I the most important thing, as she said, I'm sure we all know as parents, like staying consistent, right? Like
Hmm.
that was the biggest thing. And I feel like sometimes I ask myself, like, well, did I really need to spend $500 on that? And it's like, people ask me that too. I was like, well, yes and no. Could I have done it without her? Yes and no. Because
Yeah.
I still had that support, and asking I'd have like several questions. They weren't major questions, but small questions. She'd always reassure me and tell me, it's like a coach, right? It's just
Hmm.
you always know what to do. It's just having that backup support and someone, to lean on if you're doubting yourself or whatnot. So she just helped us stay consistent basically, and ask all my questions and everything to her. And because I really feel that if we didn't have her, that we probably would have caved at some point. It's like, oh well, this is not normal, like I can't let him cry any longer or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And she's a professional and has done this before again and again and again.
Yeah,
And you always want to hear from them that you're doing okay,
exactly.
like you're doing what you're supposed to do. So let's go over your emotions
Mhm.
before the sleep training happened because I could go into mine, but let's share yours first. Like, what were you going through in your head?
I was like, okay, I'm gonna say I love to sleep. I love sleep. I was always a great sleeper.
Hmm.
So even before having a baby, knowing that that's going to change, it's like, okay, well, you do what you got to do, right? You deal with it. But sleep is like the base of everything in your
Hmm.
life, your health, your sanity, everything. Like if you're not sleeping well, you can't do anything well. Like and I have a nutrition and dietetics background as well. It's like if you're not sleeping well, like don't even try to lose weight. Like, some people might just because they're so tired and stressed and no time to eat, but generally speaking, like if you're not sleeping well, your hormones are all out of whack. Your
Mm-hmm.
mood's out of whack. Like I cried probably more than I ever have when I was on a lack of sleep, just because it was so hard and you're tired and it was just all over the place. But and of course, this little baby is so sweet and I love him so much. But at some point, something had to give. I couldn't continue on, without sleep. It
Yeah.
was so interrupted. And then so I heard from another mom at a baby group said, well, my daughter was the same. She's up every 2 hours all night long. Magically, when she turned 1 year old, she started sleeping through the night. I was like, oh, wow. I was like, well, do I hold on and I wait till that magical day? But then I had another friend whose little guy was like 14 months old and she was still getting up every 2 hours in the night with him. I was like, oh my God, well, I can't continue for that long,
Yeah.
Basically we got to this point, this breaking point. It was like, okay, it has to change. I just can't continue like this anymore. And yeah, so just before that, like no sleep, it was very difficult. And I don't live near my family and my parents, so it was basically just us. We didn't have a lot of support around. Um so whenever I did visit my parents or they visited, that break, just my mom getting up with him in the morning or just having time to go and nap, that made
Yeah.
huge difference. And so now that he's sleeping, I'm feeling, I'm back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's life changing. I know for me, um, even the normal, like not sleeping with my son and everything, I had postpartum depression and anxiety on top of everything. So
Mm,
it was like, whoo, it was a battle every day. And
yeah.
it was like you said, like you can't blame this little thing. Like they don't know,
No.
like they're learning the world. Like, my God,
Yeah.
So, but it's so hard not to lose your cool, not to,
Mhm.
totally self-destruct,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Because like you said, with no sleep, I am like this 8-hour sleeper. Before
Oh.
I had kids, I was 8 to 9 hours every
Mhm.
night. And now I'm like 7 to 8 when my kids sleep most of the time. And I'm cool with that. But it took me a little bit for that 7 to work. Like, still, even some days when I get 7, I'm like a zombie at the end of the day. But it's so important. And, I would urge moms everywhere, like, if you're having trouble, get help,
Yeah. Yes.
because it's not worth to be a good mom, you have to have your stuff in order as well. Not really order, maybe that's not the right word, but you have to have some sort of sanity.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a proven fact that without sleep, you literally go insane. Like
Mhm.
you literally lose your marbles.
Mhm.
So it's just, yeah, it's incredible to go through, huh? And that's like one thing that I think they don't talk so much about before you have your kid. It's like there you hear, oh, you won't sleep, or everybody says, oh, get your sleep now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no one goes into depth. And
No.
I always say with my podcast, if you haven't had kids yet or you're pregnant, listen with caution because it's going to be the truth. Like you're going to hear mothers talk about their truth, and it's hard to hear and it sounds scary, but we all get through it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that is one of the things where, like, yeah, like, no, it's not just, oh, you're tired. It's like, it's a journey. Like, it is a journey 100%.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes.
100% a journey. So, are you planning on having any more kids?
No, or not. Uh,
Okay.
no.
So,
I'm kind of on the fence about that, but I I may as well get off the fence because my partner, he's older. So I'm 38 and he's
mhm,
quite a bit older than me. So
mhm,
he already has a son as well who's 16. So I say, if we were younger, including myself and him, we probably would, but no, I don't think we will have any more. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 37 and I'm at that point too. I'm
Yeah.
like, like if we had an oopsie baby, it wouldn't be like I wouldn't. I mean, I was horrible at pregnancy, so like that would
Mm-hmm.
suck. But like I've learned my lessons I needed to learn, so I think I'd be a little better at it this time.
Mm-hmm.
And if we had one, we would have, if I got pregnant, the baby would be ours and we would love
Yes.
him or her so much. But at the same time, my husband got a vasectomy. So
Okay.
it would really have to be something incredible for that to happen at this point. And so that's kind of our thing. We're like, well, you have a vasectomy. So if we get pregnant again, this baby is truly meant to be here, like
Yeah.
truly meant to be here because we actually did something, like one of us got sterilized. So if you made it through that, then you must be a little miracle baby. So,
Yeah.
and
And like
honest,
at
go ahead.
times I think like, I learned so much.
Hmm.
I've learned all of this stuff for this little baby, and now I feel like, well, it's a waste. I'm not going to use it again.
Nah,
Like I'm on the fence. I'm like, oh, at times I would like to have another one. At times, like, oh my goodness, this is so hard. I don't think I could handle another one. It probably depends on your moment and your mood and the days and things, right? But
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for me, I just had to dive in. I was like, we want them to have a sibling, and that's that. So I just did it.
Mhm.
And it was really freaking hard having two whenever the little one wasn't sleeping. And then we made a big move. So our older one went through a sleep regression and, of course, was never awake when the little one was awake to eat. He would wake up at like a different time. So we were
Uh,
waking up like, oh my God, I can't even tell you so many times a night. And I'm shocked our marriage lasted through that because I mean, we
mhm.
both equally woke up, but I had to wake up anyways because I was pumping.
Mhm.
So even when my husband wasn't getting sleep, I still wasn't getting sleep as well. So it was like, yeah, I didn't have to wake up the extra times, but it was hard. It was really hard
I
with
couldn't
my,
imagine.
yeah. And I mean, I just think that, what would your advice be for new parents?
Yeah, breathe. My my partner, he used to get upset with me because I would be online reading all the time, and they say they should do this, they say you should do that, and maybe I read too much. But I mean, I wanted to get informed and learned and learn something, but maybe I think it's just get to know your baby. Yes, inform yourself, but don't listen to it all like it's, black and white, because it's never black and white with a baby, and everyone has such different experiences. Every baby is so different. So I guess just listen to yourself and do what you feels right, and know that you're going to get advice from so many people.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to take it all. Don't take it, unless you want to take that advice. And yeah, there's going to be judgments too, and it just be confident in what you're doing. I say that, be confident. I know it's hard to be confident, but just say, I'm doing this for me. This is what feels good for me now. Maybe I'll change. Maybe I won't. Just take it all in stride, and don't be too set in your ways. Probably too, because I said, like every baby is so different. So get to know your baby the best you can, and you have to be adaptable. That's the other thing, right? Like, you go through a certain phase and period, say, okay, so this is what we do now, and then you feel like you have a routine, or everything that's going on with your baby, and then a couple weeks later it changes. So
Yeah.
you're constantly changing and learning and evolving, and it's challenging, but it's so special, so
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because my husband, when he works like 15 hours or he goes out of town. So he'll leave and the kids will be a certain way. And then he'll come back even in like 3 days. And I'm like, oh no, that doesn't happen anymore. This happens. And they
Yeah.
don't like this anymore. Instead, we do this. And he's like, what? It's been 3 days. How is how have things changed so much? I'm like, they're kids. They're ever evolving. Like, they're crazy. You just gotta go with the flow, dude. Like, and I feel like that's the biggest thing, right? You gotta
Yes.
like you can have your ideas on parenting.
Mhm.
Same with labor and delivery, right? You
Mhm.
can have your plan, but be aware that it might not go that way and be open
Exactly.
to it. Like
Mhm.
accept it before it happens. And then if it goes that way, incredible, amazing, like
Mhm.
good for you. But most likely there's going to be a lot of changes.
Yes.
And I mean, that's great for you though, too, because you learn new things, you talk to other moms. Like, I feel like bonding with other moms is great. And I'm not talking about like the mommy groups where we all get there and, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. No, like the real moms. Like, I had shit sleep last night. I'm running on 10 cups of coffee. Like, you
Yeah.
know, for me right now, none of my clothes fit.
Yeah.
Like my feet grew during my pregnancy. Now they're like smaller than they used to. I don't know how the hell that happened. And like, you want the real ones that are going to like be there with you,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it does get very lonely when you start to look at all of the, and this sounds bad, but all the like happiness and joyful things and all of that stuff. Yes, of course, you have those moments all the time. But when you're going through a tough moment, it makes you feel pretty defeated when you see
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah, so sharing that with other moms, like you say, yeah, that's so important to have someone who can be real with. Is, oh yeah, I know what you're going through. I've been there, just to know, because that's the thing. We often feel we're the only ones going through something, and just knowing
mhm.
you're not alone is such a huge help.
Yes, and when a mother says, "Oh, my baby still isn't sleeping through the night," never, 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 never say, "Oh my God, well, my baby was a great sleeper from the beginning."
It's so funny you say
Like,
that.
oh, the rage, the rage. I've had that said to me before, and I'm like, good for you. Must be nice. What is it? How does it feel to have an angel as a child? Like, I haven't slept for like what seems like years. Holy crap. Always just be like, oh my goodness. Like, be like, you know, be thoughtful of what you're saying to other moms. Like,
Yeah.
dang, dude, that was always the most harsh thing. And
my
then you
I had a
go ahead.
friend who so we're really in touch. We're the real moms. We message back and forth a lot. And her little one is 2.5 months younger than mine. So they had this similar situation. Their baby slept so good when he was younger, like right from the get go. And so I would tell my partner about it. He said, oh, tell her to F off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was so happy for them though, like so happy that they were having that because I wasn't experiencing it. And then, like I was telling myself, well, I had an amazing pregnancy. The delivery was quite good too. One little rocky moment, but all in all, like I really can't complain how everything went. So it's like, okay, if this is the one hard thing we have to deal with, so be it. Because I know, other moms were like their baby slept really great for the night, but one had trouble conceiving, and one, they had to stay in the he was preemie, so I had to stay in the ICU for several weeks. So I feel like, okay,
Mhm.
if this is the one hard thing I have to deal with, then it's not so bad.
And normally it's just at the beginning too. Like it
Yeah.
flies. It flies,
Oh my
man.
god.
I look at my 3.5-year-old. He's almost 4. I shouldn't say 3.5. He'll be 4 in 2 months. I can't believe it. Like I
Mhm.
literally cannot believe it. Where did the time go? It's like the days are so long, but the years are so short. And it's just like incredible. It's incredible. And it's so beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time, right?
Mm.
I
Yeah.
keep looking at him and I'm like, where's my baby? You're a big boy now. What the heck, dude? And he can like have full conversations with me, and it's just insane. When they
Mm.
get to like the talking age, it is hilarious and incredible. Like now he's my BFF, you
Yeah,
know? And it's so incredible. It's so
that's gonna be fun.
incredible.
Gonna
Did
be
you did you have anything else you wanted to add today?
um well, there's one thing about, the sleep training. So with the sleep training, he's kind of on a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like every time, I told someone, oh yeah, he's sleeping so great. He sleeps, from what it was 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and then his naps and blah, blah, blah. And I often would get like a question and a bit of a look like, oh, he's on a schedule, is he? I
Yeah.
don't know if you experienced that or not, but I feel like there was a bit of judgment coming from people when I said, yeah, he's on a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, well, kind of like, oh, you're that kind of parent. You're rigid and you're on a schedule, Like it seems like you're, I don't know, not a fun parent or something like that, right? You don't go with the flow. But I've talked to myself like, screw that. Like,
Yeah.
yes, we're on a schedule and it's amazing and I love it.
Yeah.
And when we do go off schedule, which we do, it's not fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like we were out yesterday, actually, I went visiting friends and came home and it was later than he was used to going down for his nap and he would not go to sleep. So
Yeah.
he cried for quite some time in his crib until I decided, okay, well, this is not happening. And so, you know, he did have a nap yesterday afternoon and he slept great last night, but it kind of wasn't fun just having him cry that hard in his crib, which he never does.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we're on a schedule most of the time. So 80% of the time we're on a schedule and it's amazing. And when you get those judgments from people, just, hey, they're not in your shoes.
Yeah.
Just to each person there's their own, like do what's best for you and your family and your baby, and you best, and just forget the rest.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I totally agree. My daughter's still on a schedule. My son is all over the place, but he decided to stop napping before he turned 2.
Oh.
Oh my God. I had my daughter when he was like 2 and 3 months old. And I thought like, oh, I'll have times when they both nap together. Nope.
No.
I was like, oh, of course you would do this. So, yeah. So the schedule will change as time goes on, but it's whatever
Yeah.
works for you. Like, don't judge. I always say, like, unless it's literal, like you're hurting your kid,
Yeah.
like actually hurting your kid or mentally like hurting your kid, physical or mental, just leave people alone and let them do
Mm-hmm.
them. Every family is, you might, I mean, if you have another kid, they might be the crazy one that never can stick to a schedule but sleeps fine, but they're going to be
Yeah.
asleep at 6 or 7 or 8 or 6 or 7 or 8, like you have no clue when they're going down, but they sleep a solid 12 when they do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like whatever works for you, that's truly what matters in this whole
Yeah,
situation.
totally.
Well, thank you so much for doing this with me. And I'm so
Oh,
excited that by the time we talked, you already had it down. You were like, guess what?
yes,
This problem is over.
it is, and it's amazing. So yeah, if anyone's considering sleep training their baby, if you're thinking about it, yeah, I'd say you're at that point.
Yeah, do
And
it.
do it.
Do it, do it, do it.
Yeah.
Get your sleep.
Yes.
Get your sleep. It's freedom. It is
Mm,
freedom.
amazing.
Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, Jackie.
So now that you heard about what Sharla and I went through, you can kind of get an idea of what might be best for you. Now, of course, we didn't talk about a lot of the other types of sleep training you can do. You can definitely hire a professional. In Sharla's case, it really helped her to have somebody else there supporting her, and that is great. I mean, all the coaching out there, I've interviewed so many coaches, it's all great. If you have the money and the means to do it, why not? help yourself. But the point of this whole thing, and what I would love everybody to get out of it, is number one, we've all been there. We've all been where you're at. We've all been to the place where you're like, what did I do? I'm never going to sleep again. I used to sleep all the time. What is sleep like anymore? And it does get better. And you can train to make it better quicker. You just got to give some patience and some dedication to it. I hope you liked this episode. Thank you so much for listening. You can find me on Instagram, The Mama Jack, on TikTok, The Mama Jack, on Facebook. I'm a person on there and I have a group, The Mama Jack. I'd love to hear your feedback. Please rate and review. Please share with your friends. If you have any ideas, throw them at me. I love hearing it. I love hearing feedback from you. Thank you so much for listening.